Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Big rumours emerging over the last few days as to the future of the CDL, especially a potential CWL-esque return in the near future to an open circuit style format. Jacob Wolf reveals that in the Overwatch League right now, this is the exact conversation the owners are having, and there's a big rumour that they will return in next year's season to an open circuit style format we used to know in the CWL days of the Call of Duty competitive world. If that's happening in the Overwatch League, one could well imagine that it's very shortly around the corner in the Call of Duty League, and a lot of the same owners are apparently already having those conversations to make this happen in the CDL. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Huge congrats to Miles and his wife and his child for a successful addition to the roster clan yesterday. Thought this was awesome to see, so congratulations all around. Now, lots of questions on the CDL format this year after it was confirmed the other day, for good reason as well, because it's highly questionable, and Scump did say on the OpTic podcast that it is plausible. In fact, it's actually not too far to the realms of possibility that a team could play 4 LAN matches all year. Now, this is not really a new thing because, let's be honest, London last year played, was it 6 LAN matches all year? They played 5 at 5 majors, and then 1 major they actually won in losers. So they actually got 1 more game. But yeah, this is not a new thing, and even if there are, 5 majors or 6 majors or 7 majors, you could still play 6, 5, 7 matches on LAN, and 4 is possible if you were to start in losers every time after the online qualifiers, and then you were to lose in that first round game. It ain't looking good. But it's not a brand new thing, unfortunately, and maybe that's fine. I mean, let's be honest, if you suck online and you turn to LAN and lose, maybe you don't deserve to play too many more series than this. But ideally, that's not how we would like it. I would like to go back to a situation where we had 16 teams turn up to the event, play the group play the bracket play, and every team gets to warm up and play quite a lot of matches. That's not really how it works anymore, and actually, these are the numbers on this season. I wonder what these would compare to, like, let's say, World War II, for example, when there was 2 stages of a LAN league. World War II wasn't the greatest game, but the format was definitely right up there. Black Ops 4 was good as well. There was a LAN league over the course of 2 stages during the season. There was many different LAN events, and all of those LAN events you started in groups, played 3 games in your groups guaranteed, and then if you did quite well, you'd go on to the bracket play, and the amount of matches you could play per season was definitely far higher than this. Nowadays, the most you can possibly play if you play every single series possible in the season is 62. The least you can play is 32, with 4 sets of online qualifiers at 7 each, plus 4 LAN. So, pretty substantial difference, but even then, these numbers aren't that high compared to what we used to have back in the day, but it's more COD than we could have had, and to be fair, on average, it's slightly more COD than we have had for the last couple of years. As Ghosty says, that's 2 more guaranteed matches than last year, but with 1 less guaranteed to be on LAN. So, yeah, difficult to say whether that's a dub or an L, but Ghosty gives his perspective on it nonetheless. Now, all sorts of drama in esports lately, as there always is. You guys probably remember a little while ago now when KOI, the Spanish creator organization thing, aBeZy and the guys over there, they partnered with Royal Ravens, right? They partnered with Infinite Reality or Rect Global or Rogue or whoever owns that thing over there. But you guys remember that this Infinite Reality thing bought them out, and it's apparently they're worth $1 billion, metaverse, AI technology, blockchain, I don't know. They do the buzzwords, you know how it goes. And they're not worth $1 billion. And at this point, KOI has decided to actually split away. So after the very brief tenure there, and you guys remember the story, they were going to bring Royal Ravens to Madrid, or it was going to be a Spanish team. That didn't happen. They went to Charlotte, and it's like, well, how does that make any sense? So what they've decided to do is just call it a day. And they're going to go back to being a situation probably not too dissimilar to what it was, where KOI take what they have, and then Rect Global keep the Call of Duty, the Rocket League, the Rainbow Six teams, stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't really know why this even happened in the first place, but that's probably what's going to be happening. I don't think the CDL spot will be going with aBeZy and co. It'll probably be going back to Rogue, and therefore, it's not going to be magically an EU spot again. They seem to be kind of committed to Charlotte, but as we're going to see here in a second, it ain't that long until this whole Charlotte's team, the Texas team, the Los Angeles team probably won't be a thing anymore, and it's probably going to go back to what it was previously with just OpTic Gaming, FaZe Clan, Splice, wherever you want to go from there. And this was a big discussion on the flank the other day where they were saying, for good reason, this CDL thing, every year it seems to get worse in some respects. And look, they seem to be chugging, they're running it down basically, right? The CDL are putting whatever they can on the table to get to a point where whatever comes next comes next. But it ain't going to last forever, and we can see that because of what happened in the Overwatch League. The Overwatch League started a couple of years before the Call of Duty League, slightly less money to buy into it, and that league is now done. It's over. They call it a day effectively, and the franchises are making the decision as to whether they take a $6 million payout to just get out of there and don't pretend that it never happened in the first place. That started a couple of years before the CDL. Now the CDL is catching up and is at a pretty similar point as well. The guys on the flank say for sure the CWL returning would be the way to go, and even though the salaries wouldn't be as good as maybe they are today, Octane says, and I think understandably, that basically all of the pros would take that trade. For the CWL to return, they would take the lower salaries.
From the moment we had that summit in LA and all those players were there, we like meeting everyone from the league and all this shit, we all looked at each other, we walked out of the room like, holy shit, thank God we're making $300,000. Like, dude, it was literally just the trade-off of like how things should be ran in order to get a bag. And that's not like, I don't think that's the player's fault or anything like that. That's just the
we
system.
Didn't have a choice.
That's what I'm saying. Like we couldn't, I mean, I'm not going to say anything, but we couldn't leave that room if you guys remember what I'm talking about. There's just like, dude, if they're going to kill their league, then let them. Like, I don't know what more to say.
This whole CDL franchise model
we can't sit here.
Excuse me, Ben. I'm talking, Ben.
Tell them how to run a schedule, bro. We can't
this whole CDL franchise needs to be scrapped after this year. We need to go back to an old CWL format where this shit is just completely gone. We need pool play back. We need open brackets back. We need all this stuff back. And we also need a schedule that goes 9 months through the year. Go ahead, Ben.
No, I mean, I agree with you 100%. Like, I think, listen, the Microsoft Activision merger went through a few weeks ago. There's obviously going to be a restructure across both companies as they merge. Like, it's going to include the esports division. And I'm curious to see after this season, like, what they do here, because I think we all agree going back to an open model will be best. And we go back to what made COD great, bro. The group stages, the brackets, big convention.
People making decisions.
And I do want to address somebody that's in the chat. He goes, well, that means salaries are going to go back too? Sure.
I guarantee you every player would take that trade.
Sure. But listen, bro, if you are a really talented player, your salary will not be bad.
So I think we've done a pretty decent job over the last 5 years of breaking down the issues with the Call of Duty franchise league. And even as Jake Hell says, another one, the idea that some of these franchises just don't host events in their city. And sure, Activision don't want to pay the money or like, let's say, don't want to subsidize them doing so. The organizations have to make that financial case to do it themselves. And often that doesn't really check out. The numbers don't really add up. But still, what's the point having home cities and team locations if they just don't have to host events? Like, in an ideal world, there would be at least 6 events a year, and every team would host one every couple of years or something. And if OpTic want to host more, they can host more. I don't know. That would be the ideal world of what we currently have. And sure, I do accept the CDL has done some positive things. The fact that teams get cheered for at their home events that aren't just OpTic all the time is a good thing. Like the fact that Minnesota Rocco and Toronto, especially, those teams have generated local fan bases is impressive and it's good, and I think it's a positive. Is it enough of a positive to outweigh, the issues with the locality-based teams? I'm not so convinced. And as Madcat says, I know that Daniel Sai here is just a messenger, but you guys are stinking this league out of existence, but keep up the good work, because this is like always the point now. It's like, well, okay, sure, the league might be going downhill, but maybe let's just get it going downhill, and then we can move on to what's next, because there will be a what's next, and this is the concern that I had, I would say 6 months ago. It's like, well, let's say the league dies, and it doesn't make any financial sense anymore, as it never did in the first place. What comes next? Do Activision just say, screw you guys, it's all your fault, and we ain't doing anything anymore, right? We're not supporting esports, and we're just going to go back to, the absolute dark ages of competitive gaming. But this is what we're going to see in the Overwatch League as well. These guys have paid a lot of money to get into this league, and to be honest, Activision in a way are kind of on the back foot, because they promised all this stuff. The PowerPoint presentations were, I imagine, immense. What the teams were getting given when the CDL at the Overwatch League especially initially began, the returns they'd be making, all this stuff. the teams are going to be like, all right, guys, you know, I'm going to lawyer up here and I'm going to sue you if you don't do X, Y, Z. So in a way, Activision are kind of obligated to be like, all right, guys, yeah, we'll fix it. Don't worry. You don't get the lawyers just yet. We'll sort it and we'll come up with a better solution going forward for the owners that are still interested and committed to esports and competitive gaming, but it's just the current model doesn't really work, especially for the organizations, actually. So, as Jacob Wolf says, Activision Blizzard is expecting its franchise teams to vote to end the current version of the Overwatch League. There's, you know, no denying about this. They get like a $6 million payout if they decide to. That's going to happen. It's already taking measures to run a new, likely open circuit system as soon as 2024. The likely operator, the Saudi-owned ESL FaZe Group. So ESL, FaZe, Esports Engine, all part of the same thing now, and it's owned by the Saudi, whatever they call the Sovereign Wealth Fund, stuff like that. And that's controversial in and of itself, but that's how it is. And if there's one external organizer that runs tournaments nowadays, it is the ESL FaZe Group. That's what they do. And Jacob Wolf goes on to say in the replies that from what I know, owners are negotiating with aBeZy over the CDL2. The process just is further along with the Overwatch League because it's been around longer, and he reckons that it's doubtful to be aBeZy or whatever his new thing is, possibly because after the EE thing got sold to the Saudi ESL FaZe Group, after Esports Engine went over there, I think that aBeZy has got some sort of non-compete, so he can't even start his own new tournament organizer competitor for some time. So by the time this happens, you know, aBeZy might not be in the position to take over and it might go to, you know, ESL. But it does seem like, and Jacob Wolf straight up says it, the owners are also negotiating over the CDL. And if they are negotiating this for the Overwatch League, it's very likely that something very similar will happen for the CDL, especially because a lot of the owners are literally the same in both of those franchise leagues. So the return of an open circuit system organized by a third-party group, and of course Activision will kind of cease to exist, really. It's going to be Microsoft, and they seem more eager to do this because it's kind of what they do already on the Halo side. So definitely some big hints here that this is effectively what is going to happen in the near future. Now it's 2024, sometime next year this might begin for the Overwatch League, so you'd think that putting 2 and 2 together, maybe it's going to be 2025 for when it's going to happen in the Call of Duty League. It might be 1 year later than that. I kind of doubt it. I would, my expectation is that this year of the CDL is kind of going to be the last as we presently know it. So yeah, an open circuit style system. I think that we've been asking for this for a long time. It has a lot of benefits. As I said yesterday, it's not rocket science how to make this esports thing work. We've done it in the past. It can be done again. Hopefully it will be done again. But the concerns that I had a few months back that Activision might just say, you know what, screw you guys, we're just going to call this a day no more esports for you, doesn't seem to be the case because the Overwatch League is doing an open circuit thing apparently, so I imagine that does return for the Call of Duty League at some point or another. What that looks like, how good that might potentially be, what the format is, which teams are going to get involved, whether the franchises do entirely disappear and Minnesota Rocket ceases to exist and all these other organizations cease to exist and go back to, you know, their own brand names version 1 in the Minnesota Rockets case, for example. What that means for the players, all the contracts they currently have, like do they get voided? I mean, if this does happen, it's going to be absolute chaos. Just like when the Call of Duty League initially came around, it was absolute chaos. So I guess hit the subscribe button there because it's happening soon, but probably not all that soon, all things considered. So very much enjoy your thoughts in the comment section below. Just a couple of things to close out with. You know, we know it's a long off season when you see stuff like this arriving. Start, bench, cut, all in their prime. I mean, I don't like these really. Okay, they're good for engagements, right? So I respect the boys putting them together, but like, I don't really. It depends on your team. You know what I mean? It's like you choose Cell or Scrap or Dashy depending on the teammate. You can't just choose one. They all do slightly different roles in a slightly different way. But to be honest, like at least you probably got to say Cellium realistically, given how dominant he's been for the last several years. But in terms of a player that's like hardest to replace, Scrappy might kind of almost fit the bill because Dashy and Cell are both kind of main ARs really. Whereas Scrappy's more of like a flex, faster paced, so I don't know, it's interesting. And just before we close out, guys, if you're looking to get involved in some actual competition as soon as MW3 kicks off, have a look at the COD Muse League kickoff, which is here and arriving. $300 prize pool for this free entry tournament. Starts on the 17th of November, so you guys can sign up as a solo or as a duo, and yeah, it should be an awful lot of fun. So if you guys want to get involved, link will be down below, or just go to this tweet and click the link and all that good stuff. Should be a good time when the new game launches in less than a week now, thankfully. So hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.